Alright guys, we are back for another day and we've got plenty more to talk through in terms of Championship transfer rumours. Obviously we did have a game going on in the Championship last night as well. That was a top of the table clash between Burnley and Leeds United. In the end it was a little bit anticlimactic. It finished as a goalless draw. I think most of us thought it would be a fairly tight game going into that one, as most Burnley matches at Turf Moor have tended to be this season. So yeah, if you did have any thoughts on that one, feel free to drop them in the comments down below. We've obviously got another game going on in the Championship tonight as well. That sees Portsmouth going up against Millwall. I did predict that one on yesterday's video. But of course, the main focus of today will be on all the latest transfer news. So without any further ado, let's jump into the done deals. We've seen Derby County signing Matt Clark on a permanent basis from Middlesbrough. Interestingly though, that deal is only until the end of the season. Probably with Clark maybe wanting to protect himself if Derby are relegated to League One. But I think that's a good capture for Derby, if I'm honest. He's obviously someone who's already very familiar with the club, having previously spent 2 seasons out on loan with Derby in the Championship. Now, earlier this season, he came back from a really long injury layover. I believe he was out for around 14 months in total. But he has started in 12 Championship matches for Middlesbrough so far this season, and fully fit, I think he is a good option for Derby. They're in desperate need of strengthening that position, so yeah, that could turn out to be a pivotal addition for them between now and the end of the season. And another player we've seen returning to their former club is Cal Naismith. The Bristol City defender has rejoined Luton Town on a loan deal until the end of the season. The 32-year-old had only featured sparingly for Bristol City in the first half of the season, only making 2 Championship starts for them this far into the campaign. Luton are badly in need of patching up a few positions, to be honest with you, so I'm sure they'll take anyone they can get at the moment. We've seen Sivert Mansverk joining Cardiff on a loan deal until the end of the season. We did discuss this one in yesterday's video, but it has since been confirmed. The 22-year-old Ajax star will give Cardiff another option in midfield for the remainder of the season. I'm interested to see how he gets on. This one had been rumoured for quite a while, but Hamza Chowdhury has completed his move to Sheffield United. He's joined the Blades on loan for the remainder of the season, but Sheffield United will have the option to make that deal permanent in the summer should they choose. Another decent pickup here for the Blades, who have been pretty proactive during this January transfer window so far. Chowdhury, someone who can offer cover in a couple of different positions, obviously midfield, or he can play at fullback as well. And a little bit of managerial news that we've had recently is that Chris Wilder has signed a new contract with Sheffield United, keeping him at the club until 2028. So the Blades will be pleased to have a bit of stability there with Wilder's contract situation. The club have backed him during this transfer window so far. We'll speak about some more Sheffield United rumours throughout this video as well. But Blades fans, I'm sure you're happy with that news. But those are some of the done deals which have gone through in the Championship over these last 24 hours. Now, without any further ado, let's jump into the rumours. It looks as if Luton Town are going to be getting incredibly busy in these final days of the transfer window, with their top target right now being Wycombe forward Richard Kone. Now, the club have already been knocked back on a few offers they've had in for the Wycombe striker, but their latest and third bid is worth £6 million. Now, this has got everyone talking at the moment. Now, there's no doubt Richard Kone is having a fantastic season for Wycombe in League One right now. Wycombe don't want to lose their player. Obviously, they're in the midst of a promotion battle in the 3rd tier. If they were to lose Kone at this stage of the window, that could derail their promotion bid, but let's not beat around the bush. £6 million is a huge sum of money, especially considering Richard Kone was playing in the Essex Senior League only last season. His rise from non-league football to now playing with Wycombe in League One has been absolutely astronomical. He's been brilliant so far this season, scoring 14 goals up until this point. There is unique circumstances around this whole deal really as to why Luton probably would be overspending a little bit. They're absolutely desperate for a striker right now, and Wycombe don't want to lose their star man, but money talks, and obviously Matt Bloomfield will be confident that he can get the best out of Kone after building up a relationship with him at Wycombe. So Luton fans and general fans of the Championship, I'd love to know your perspective on this one. And speaking of Luton Town, they're also in advanced talks to sign Wigan Athletics' Thello Asgard, who's been one of the other standout players in League One so far this season. The 22-year-old attacking midfielder has scored 8 goals and has got 2 assists for Wigan this far into the season. Whenever I've caught a glimpse of Wigan, he's tended to be the standout player. Only 22 years old, has bags of potential. You can see why Luton are so keen on bringing him in. Fee that's being talked about looks to be in excess of £3 million, so Luton are happy to throw around quite a bit of money in this January window to try and get them out of the predicament they find themselves in, currently in the relegation zone. And speaking of Wigan Athletic, my team Preston North End have had an offer rejected for Wigan goalkeeper Sam Tickle. Now, Tickle has been linked with a move to the Championship for quite some time. I remember discussing the goalkeeper quite a bit throughout the summer. In the end, Wigan managed to keep hold of him. And the benefit for Wigan is the fact that the goalkeeper is under contract with the club until 2028. Undoubtedly one of the highest rated goalkeepers in League One right now. You can see why Preston would be interested, but whether we have the finances to do this deal, especially in January, I'm not so sure. I do think it is right, though, that we are looking for another goalkeeper. Freddie Woodman is out of contract with North End at the end of the season. I do think we need to be looking for an upgrade in that department. Whether or not it's realistic that we get someone like Tickle over the line, though, I'm not so sure. I think quite a few sides will be interested, especially come the summer. And not the news that Swansea fans were hoping for, but it does appear as if Matt Grimes' move to Coventry is edging closer. We spoke yesterday about how Coventry had already had 2 bids turned down for the Swansea City captain. Well, since that point, quite a bit has developed. Coventry have gone in with a 3rd bid, said to be worth around about £4 million, and that deal is now said to be close. We said yesterday that Grimes was open to the move to Coventry, and since that point, it's all unfolded quite rapidly, to be honest with you. Swansea fans, what do you make of that figure of around about £4 million? It is worth stressing that Grimes still has a few years left in his contract with Swansea, so it's not as if the club were in a desperate need to cash in on him right now, but once a player has his mind set on leaving, like sort of been reported that Grimes has been, it's difficult to keep hold of players past that point. But yeah, Swansea really could find themselves in a bit of a tricky situation here if they do lose Grimes and don't replace him adequately between now and the end of the window, and they won't have a lot of time to do that. And another Swansea player who could leave between now and the end of the window is Harry Darling, whose contract is up at the end of this campaign. Now, we have spoken about the defender a few times on the channel over these past few weeks. Bristol City have been one club who have been sniffing around him in recent weeks, but the latest club to be linked with the Swansea defender is Sheffield United. Obviously, they're still looking to boost up their defensive options between now and the end of the window, and given this contract is up at the end of the campaign, the Blades could look to secure a bit of a cut price deal there. Now, earlier in the window, it was reported that Burnley were interested in Said Benrahma. Well, that deal will no longer be going through because Benrahma is set to join Neon SC, who currently play in the Saudi Arabian 2nd Division. So I'm sure that transfer has caught a few people out, but yeah, Benrahma seems to be on his way off to Saudi. It's a shame. I would have loved to have seen him back in the Championship, but he's seemingly got his mindset on that move now. We've had an interesting line coming out of Middlesbrough recently that they are prepared to let Dan Barlaser leave the club in January. I've already seen Derby as one of the clubs interested. There's also supposed to be a bit of interest coming from clubs in League One as well. Barlaser, during his time at Borough, hasn't quite kicked on like a few of us maybe thought. Obviously, really highly thought of during his days with Rotherham, where he was one of their top performers in the Championship. So far this season, he's made 11 starts for Borough in the league, 8 appearances off the bench. Borough fans would be interested to get your take on Barlaser in the comments down below. And what does the future hold for Middlesbrough forward Emmanuel Latte-Lath? Because it was reported, it seems quite a while ago now, that Atlanta United and MLS had agreed a deal in principle with Middlesbrough, but since that point, the deal has hit a few snags. Now, as a bit of a refresher, the MLS club had agreed a deal with Middlesbrough worth around about $22 million. So in pounds, that's worth around about 18 million. But the deal has seemingly hit a bit of a roadblock because of some of the finer details, whether that relates to contract details, work permits, some background issues. It could be a whole host of different things that are holding this one up. But it would mean that perhaps he's now more likely to stay than he is to go. Obviously, a Premier League club could still swoop in for him in the final days of the window, but as of recording, that hasn't happened. So Borough do find themselves in a bit of a tricky spot right now. Now, interestingly, I obviously briefly saw Emmanuel Latte-Lath in action over the weekend against my side, North End. He went off injured fairly early on in that game. Hopefully, that's not anything too serious. But worth noting that clubs from America can still sign players past the English deadline, but obviously Middlesbrough wouldn't get the chance to replace him there. A number of Championship clubs are still interested in Liverpool youngster Jayden Danns. It seems like the most prominent interest right now is coming from Stoke, but you've also got the likes of Blackburn and Preston who have been named as interested interested as well. Now, Liverpool are yet to make a concrete decision on whether or not they will let Danz go out on loan for the remainder of the season, but I wouldn't be surprised if they are willing to sanction that loan deal. I think a loan spell second half of the season in the Championship would do him quite good for his development. But if Slot still thinks he could be of use in the running for the Premier League this season, then they may keep him around, but he's definitely one to watch out for in these coming days. Speaking of Stoke City, Bristol City's Mark Sykes is someone who's of interest to the Potters right now. They've made an initial bid for the 27-year-old that has been rejected by Bristol City. Now, as of recording, it's not clear how much that initial bid from Stoke was worth, but it has been reported that Bristol City have turned it down. Now, Sykes is out of contract at the end of the season, although quite crucially, Bristol City do have the option to extend his deal by a further 12 months. So we'll wait and see how that one plays out over the coming days. Sykes so far this season has made 15 appearances in the Championship for Bristol City, with 10 of those being starts. It does seem as though if Stoke want to land him in this window, though, they'll have to go in with an improved offer. And it looks as if Watford are back in the race to sign Kelechi Iheanacho on loan for the remainder of the season from Sevilla. Now, right at the start of the window, Watford were one of the first clubs to be linked with the out-of-favour Sevilla star. Since that point, there have been quite a few other sides who have thrown their hat in the ring, a few Championship sides, as well as a few Premier League sides who are currently battling relegation. It all went quiet on the Watford front for a few weeks, but according to reports in Spain, Watford are close to reaching an agreement with the player, which would see him joining on loan for the remainder of the season. So that could be a big booster for Watford for the remainder of the year if they get that deal over the line. And Iheanacho isn't the only forward that Watford are after at this point in time either, because they've also been linked with Sheriff Ndiaye, who currently plays for Red Star Belgrade. It's been floated that a fee of around 8 million could be involved in that deal, but we'll have to wait and see over these coming days if that one actually does come to fruition. Hull are reportedly willing to send Javier Simmons out on loan for the remainder of the season. The 21-year-old has started in 13 Championship matches for Hull so far this season. He's also made 7 appearances off the bench. Now, of the clubs that are supposedly interested, QPR have been named as one of them. Although you'd imagine if QPR are in the race for him, maybe they'd want a permanent deal rather than loan. Along with QPR, there also seems to be a bit of interest coming from abroad as well. But there you guys have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and make sure to get all your thoughts in the comments down below. But other than that, thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one.